and welcome to another episode of A Spoonful of Species, your go-to place for conservation through baking. My name is Caitlin, and I'm an interpretive naturalist with years of experience educating the public about animals, both aquatic and terrestrial, and sometimes insects. Each week, I will bake an animal-themed dessert and discuss the cool facts and awesome conservation stories for these animals, and what you can do to help them right from your own home. This week, we're making honey bee hive cake. It's so good. It was very easy to make, I promise. If you can make pancakes, you can make this honey bee hive cake. It is made of a honey vanilla batter baked into pancakes, stacked with an Italian buttercream and fondant decorations. To make your honey beehive cake batter, you will need 2 cups of flour, 1/2 cup of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 cup of unsalted butter, 1 cup of honey, 3 eggs, 1/2 teaspoon of hazelnut extract, 1/2 cup of yogurt. To make your honey beehive cake, first whisk your flour, salt, and baking soda together in a bowl. In your mixer, beat butter and honey together until light and creamy. Add your eggs one at a time, and then add your hazelnut extract and yogurt to the batter and mix until fully combined. Add your dry ingredients until combined, and then grease your pan or a griddle and pour your batter onto the pan a small amount at a time, cooking each layer in a circle until golden brown on each side. Basically, you're making pancakes. Set each layer aside to cool, then stack and shape layers using a knife to create the domed appearance of your cake. You may dowel the layers to prevent leading if necessary. Everyone already knows at least 3 things about bees, right? 1, they're incredible pollinators and they pollinate flowers and plants. We already know that. They're awesome. 2, that bees are honey makers. That's where our honey comes from, which is true, but not all bees make honey. So we'll talk about that in a minute. And 3, that bees have stingers and can sting, which is true, but only the female bees. But I'm not here to tell you what you already know. I'm here to tell you what you don't know about bees. And that's a whole lot because bees are incredibly intricate and fascinating animals, or insects, and they are extremely important for basically every ecosystem on Earth. So first, most species of bees do not live in colonies or hives. In fact, of the almost 20,000 species of bees, only about 10% of those are colony bees, like honeybees or bumblebees. Most bee species are solitary or live in small groups, like familial groups, and don't actually live in the colonies or beehives that you or I think of the second that we think of bees. Even though these bees are solitary, they're still extremely important pollinators, just like the honeybees or the bumblebees that you or I think of when we think of bees. These solitary bees have extremely incredible adaptations that help them survive outside of colony life. So because they don't have a colony to help protect them and keep them safe, they have to think or come up with other ways to help them survive in their natural environments. For example, the mouth parts of bees are called mandibles, and carpenter bees have specialized mandibles that are hard and kind of jagged and help them whenever they want to dig a hole in wood. So carpenter bees get their names because they'll dig like 3/8 of an inch deep into wood, and that is where they will lay their eggs and come back to. It's their home every day. So they build their homes just like we build our homes. And carpenter bees kind of use their mandibles more like a drill or a saw than they do as mouth parts. And their little bodies, when they are chewing, will vibrate and actually help them push their way into the side of wood, which is really neat. Other bees, like the miner bee, will actually bury itself into the ground and will dig holes and even secrete a waxy substance that creates really stable tunnels. Just like when we mine for things, we have to shore it up inside to make sure that it doesn't fall apart. To make your Italian buttercream, you will need 4 large egg whites, 1 1/3 cup of granulated sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 16 ounces of unsalted butter, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1/4 teaspoon cream of tartar, and 1/3 cup of water. To make your Italian buttercream, first beat the egg whites, salt, and cream of tartar slowly, and then add in 1/3 cup of sugar and beat until soft peaks form. They should look light and fluffy. Add the remaining sugar and 1/3 cup of water into a pot and place on low heat. Stir until the sugar melts and becomes clear, and then turn the heat to medium-high until the temperature reads about 240 degrees Fahrenheit. Slowly drizzle the sugar into the mixer with the egg whites immediately while the mixer is running at medium to high speed. Run the mixer until the meringue is cool and tepid to touch. Then switch to a paddle attachment. Add the butter, about a tablespoon at a time. It is important that the butter be room temperature. Add your flavorings and colorings next, and then beat until fully combined and the mixture has reached a silky consistency. Most bees are not avid stingers. While bees do sting and can sting, they don't really want to. A lot of bees actually die after they sting, so it would not benefit them as a species to want to sting frequently. Now I know what you're thinking. We've all had that experience where a bee just kind of flies at us and is suddenly buzzing around our head, making loops, and it's both scary and a little annoying, and maybe you're thinking, why on earth is she telling me that they'll just leave me alone? I've had it happen where they didn't. Well, there are 3 really interesting things about that specific situation that I'd like to make you aware of. Number 1, when bees fly, they can flap their cute little wings at over 320 times per second. So 320 times. 320 times. It's an incredibly fast amount of wing flaps, and it actually creates a vibration in their bodies that is audible to us, which makes that buzzing sound. So bees are not buzzing around you threateningly, they're just flying, and it creates the buzzing noise. So the bee buzzing is not a scary noise, it's just movement, just like you or I, or when a horse walks, it clacks sometimes, or when we walk and our heels hit the floor, it's very similar. They're just making noise as they move around, like everybody else does. 2, bees' vision is really weird and really awesome. So first of all, bees have 5 eyes. They have 3 right on the top of their heads that can just detect light, really. So is it light? Is it dark? That's what they're for. And scientists think that they use those to help them track the movement of the sun, which tells them what to do and when to do it. They also have 2 big eyes that I'm sure you've seen on the sides of their heads, but those eyes are divided up into hundreds, if not thousands, of different segments, and each of those segments sees a bit like putting together a big puzzle. They can only see one little piece of the puzzle at a time, and so they swoop left and right, or maybe forward and backwards around you to try and get a whole picture of what's going on. And the whole reason that bee might be near you in the first place is usually a compliment. It's because you smell good. So if you have perfume or shampoo, or even sometimes our sweat, smells really good to bees. We sometimes smell like flowers to them. And so they're coming over to you because you smell like something they wish to pollinate or taste. And they're a little confused because you're a lot bigger than a flower they're usually pollinating, and you're moving, and you might be making like really loud noises because you're scared of bees. And so they're just really trying to figure out what's going on with you. So the very best thing that you can do is to hold still, but if that's physically not possible for you, just exit the situation, wait a few minutes, the bee will fly away, and come on back to enjoy the rest of your day. According to the USDA, bees actually pollinate 75% of the entire world's flowering plant populations. This means the bees are incredibly important, and 1 out of 3 bites of food that you take is because of pollinators like bees. So they're extremely important and awesome creatures, even the non-colonizing ones. and they need to be protected. Bees are at risk for extinction. In fact, 1 in 4 species of the bee populations in the world are threatened by extinction. So their populations are declining at a rapid rate, usually due to disease, pesticide use, global climate change, and because their habitats are being destroyed to make way for people.
To assemble your honey beehive cake, first pipe Italian buttercream between each layer of cake, doweling the cake if necessary. Add a thin layer of your Italian buttercream around the outside of the cake to create a crumb coat and let dry in a cool place. Then add a thicker layer of buttercream on the outside of the cake and shape into the beehive. I used a buttercream smoothing tool to help me get those extended lines around the outside. Roll out your fondant and cut out your bees. You can hand make the bees if you like, which I've done before, or you can use a cookie cutter for flattened shapes. The choice is yours. Paint your bees with edible food coloring or markers and let everything dry to the touch. Next, add your fondant bees to your cake with buttercream and then paint the flight patterns of the bees onto the cake with black icing and a paintbrush. Previously, I've also made chocolate honeycomb using chocolate melts and bubble wrap. The point is, decorate your beehive cake however you like, and don't forget to support the bees.
The good news is that there's plenty of work being done to help save these really important pollinators. You can look up, there are thousands of people and conservation groups all over the world working really hard to save bee species, but I'm going to tell you my 2 favorite bee conservation projects that I hope that you check out and get more involved in. So the first conservation initiative that is near and dear to my heart is called the Elephants and Bees Project, and it's based out of Kenya. Originally, this project started because elephants were walking through the farmlands in Kenya. They were tearing down fences and destroying crops, and this was upsetting the farmers, rightfully so, because the farmers need that crop and those farmlands to be in good condition so that they can feed themselves and so they can make money to live. Now, the farmers didn't want to destroy the elephants because that would look bad and would be bad, but they also didn't know what to do. So they partnered with scientists who came up with a way to help keep elephants out of their farmlands. And the solution ended up being bees. So elephants are kind of naturally afraid of bees for whatever reason. And so if the farmers were to put a bunch of beehives around the outside of their farmlands, the bees will keep the elephants from entering the crops and destroying them. And the bees also help give more money to the farmers by promoting the crops to grow by pollinating them, and also by providing the farmers with some honey to sell as well. So this project is really awesome. I encourage you to go take a look at their website and see if you'd like to get involved and even donate a little to their project. It's really, really cool and helps save elephants, people, and bees, and shows that when we work together with nature instead of against it, there is absolutely nothing that we can't accomplish. The second project that I'm really, really interested in is called the Bee Conservancy. It's a little closer to home, based out of the United States for me, and it helps bees all over the world by creating bee sanctuaries, by collecting data about bees, by providing education opportunities for people who maybe don't know as much about bees, and by partnerships with companies like restaurants that help to use sustainable practices whenever getting fruits, vegetables, that kind of thing that bees need to survive. So that leads to the question, what can you do? So there's so much that we can do to help bees right from our own backyards. Even if you don't have a backyard and you just have a living room or patio, there's so much that we can do to help bees. So a couple of my favorites. Number 1, you can plant local native flowers even on a balcony or a front porch, and absolutely never use pesticides. Even organic pesticides can kill bees, and whenever it rains, the runoff gets into our water system. It's just bad for everyone. Don't use pesticides. Number 2, you can buy local honey. Buying local honey that comes from your local bees not only supports the local business people who are keeping these bees, but also supports the bees because they're able to continue pollinating your home area, which is what we all want. We want to walk down the street and see beautiful flowers and wonderful trees, and the only way we get to keep doing that is by protecting our bees. And number 3, you can make a bee condo. I know it sounds crazy, and most people are like, I really don't want bees near my house. But like I said before, now that you know that most bees don't sting, and in fact only females can sting, and the solitary bees, which make up 90% of bee populations, usually don't sting, you should get a bee condo. If you look online, there's so many different ways to make a bee condo, and they're cute and they're fun, and you get to support bees in your local area, which helps you, and helps me, and helps the bees. This has been another episode of Spoonful of Species. I hope you had as much fun learning about bees as I had about talking about them. And if you like what you saw, like and subscribe, or follow me at a Spoonful of Species wherever you follow people. I'm everywhere now. So thank you, and I hope to see you next week on a Spoonful of Species.